Production funding for Behind the Headlines is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
The superintendents from Millington, Arlington, and Lakeland tonight on Behind the Headlines. I'm Eric Barnes, President and Executive Editor of the Daily Memphian. Thanks for joining us. I'm joined tonight by Tammy Mason from the Arlington Community Schools, Superintendent. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Ted Horrell is Superintendent from the Lakeland School System. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Bo Griffin, Superintendent from Millington Municipal Schools. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And Bill Dries is reporter with the Daily Memphian. Thanks for joining us. And we were talking before the show. You're 5 years in, 5 years past the consolidation, deconsolidation, all the ruckus that ended up in you all having your own independent schools. And I'll turn to you, Tammy. What have you learned?
I tell you, we've learned a lot in the first 5 years of our district, but one of the things that most importantly that we've learned is that it's still what we do every day. It's about the kids and making sure that the kids in our community is taken care of and that we're meeting the needs of not only kids, but the expectations of our community.
And part of there were many reasons that the separation happened, but certainly funding was a part of it.
Sure.
How has that played out? And again, I don't know that any school ever says they have enough funding, but how has it played out in terms of getting money and managing your various sources of funding?
Yeah, we continue to get funding through three major streams: local, county, and state. We've been able to manage quite well with what we've received. Obviously, we could do more if we had more money, but the funding that we get from our town and the local county commission for capital has helped us.
Yeah. Ted, same question. I mean, what do you hear from parents in the grocery store, on the street, out in the community that 5 years in, you've learned and that's what you're trying to adapt to?
It's really just a lot of excitement. One thing that we have learned is that we probably would all agree as superintendents, we are closer to the parents and the students we serve than is typical in a larger school system. So they work directly with our board members, and they probably go to board members more often, and the board members come to us if they have.
Which is pros and cons to that?
Pros and cons, but I think we hear in more real time not only what the issues and concerns are, but what the desires are of the community. And being small, we have more ability to kind of pivot and react to those. Particularly, like many of us, we only have one school per grade band, so when we make decisions for that school, we don't have to think about 13, 14, 50 other schools. We can just think what's the best decision for that school based on what the community needs are and what the principals think. We can work directly with those folks.
Bo, same question. What have you learned, and how have you adapted over this past 5 years?
Well, being the new guy in this, I've been in it for 2 months. I can say that Ms. Mason and Dr. Horrell have been huge, like all the other municipality. Worked with all of them in the Shelby County schools before. I can pick up the phone, they will call me back because I've had a lot of questions, and thank goodness for them. But like Dr. Horrell and Ms. Mason said, we're just taking care of our kids. It's a lot easier for us to know exactly what our parents want because we're more accessible. With only having 4 schools in Millington, I go to every school at least once a week and go and meet with the teachers and meet with the students. I know my kids. Right. We're about 2,800 students, so I get a chance to know them on a first and last name basis. So that's the great part.
And before you were superintendent, you were where and doing what?
I was the principal at Raleigh High School, and then I was the principal at Bolton High School.
Okay. Bill Dries.
And your position is unique as well, Bo, because this is the first changeover that we've really had in superintendents for any of the 7 school systems.
Yes, sir.
Since the merger and the demerger too. So talk a little bit about where the Millington school system is 2 months into your tenure.
Well, yes, sir. I think we're in a very good spot right now. The one thing is that I had to find out what our community wanted from their schools. I'm very vested. I have a 7-year-old that attends E.A. Harold schools. So that being said, I want what's best for Eli, but if it's not good enough for Eli, it's not good enough for anybody's kid. So being able to speak with the community, I found out that the number one thing they want is they just want the best opportunity for their kids to be successful in and outside the classroom. But communication is the key in that. A lot of communication, very visible. everybody, there was 20 people put in for this job, but I think 36,000 in Millington actually, control that job, so to speak, because it's important. 75% of that population doesn't have a kid in school, but 100% of it pays for the school. So it's important that I listen to their voice and try to see what they want of their schools as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like the other school superintendents, you have worked in education here within Shelby County before this all happened as well.
Yes, sir.
And you actually worked in close proximity, some would even say competition, with the Achievement School District.
Yeah, I'm sure they know me very well. And Miss Stephanie Love as well. So,
so talk to me a little bit about future plans, because you pick up some of the plans that Dr. Roper had as superintendent. You've got a theater under construction by Millington.
Yes, sir. We have a brand new theater coming. It's going to be 500 seats. It's going to be, it's going to be awesome. I don't know another way to say it. It's going to be just beautiful. It's going to be accessible to the whole community. The thing is, as being a small district, to take on what Dr. Roper did, and Dr. Roper set the groundwork and did a lot of great things for us. We're just trying to take it to the next level. Trying to make partnerships, like Ms. Mason said earlier, with our local communities. Talking with the University of Memphis, they started their aviation program. We're the only school district that has access to an airport. We have the municipality airport right there. Mm-hmm. And working with them, we're trying to get our CTE program up to where it needs to be, so we can help our career technical education. Trying to get those skills that we all need, especially right now. I hope nobody's air goes out. But if they do, they're going to call air conditioning or HVAC guy to come out and fix their air. My goal is that we get those programs up and running so that we can help our kids be successful down the road. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking at.
Right. Tammy, you opened up a fine arts
PAVE Academy. The PAVE Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's something else that we've seen. People, I think, who aren't involved in education tend to think, oh, okay, well, they're beefing up CTE, so that's going to come at the expense of fine arts. It doesn't.
No. What we've seen is, we have our kids, they have so many different interests, and that's one of the great things about having a large high school is we can meet the needs of all those different groups of kids. This year we've opened 2 new academies, one being the PAVE Academy, which is fine arts. There are 6 strands in that particular academy. We're looking at our visual arts, our theater, TV studio, and vocal music and band, as well as our debate club. And with that, it's a 4-year program that these kids are going through, and when they leave this program, they'll have a complete professional portfolio depending upon their strand they're in. If they're in the vocal music, they'll be going to a recording studio, having a tape where when they can go out and audition, they'll have this their portfolio. Our art kids will have a professional portfolio of their artwork that they've accumulated over the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. We've also started this year the Collegiate Academy with kids that when they leave in 4 years, they have the opportunity to have up to 21 college credits when they leave, as well as have opportunities for leadership activities as well. So we're really trying to hit our fine arts, our career and technical, also our athletic programs are important, so trying to make sure that we spread the money we were talking about earlier around to meet the needs of all of our kids. It's a challenge, but we're able to do it.
Mm-hmm. And Bo, I think that your theater is also working with a community theater.
Yes, sir. Playhouse 51. They're going to be involved in that because there's like for the Christmas play this year, they need adults in the school production, but they also need children in the adult production. So working hand in hand and just getting that community pride, I think, is essential to getting that support, because if you truly take ownership of your schools, then you're going to see some really great things happen.
Mm-hmm. Ted, in Lakeland, we started out with one school. We now have a middle school which has opened up, and how has that growth been handled in Lakeland?
Well, very deliberately, certainly, with an eye on the growth. We opened Lakeland Middle Preparatory School last year, so we're starting year 2 with that school this year, and we've got 780 middle school students there in grades 5 through 8. it was an interesting challenge because, a lot of times when a school system opens a new school, you may move some teachers over to from the other schools, you move some of the textbooks over, you've already got the curriculum. We had to start from scratch, grades 6 through 8. So we had to get new English curriculum, new math curriculum, new science curriculum. We opened one-to-one with Chromebooks, so we had to make sure all the technology was ready. We opened with, 6 or 7 sports that we were trying to launch right off the bat, and then added 2 more this year. So it's been an exhilarating and exciting, I guess, ride, but it's been really exciting to bring those students and have them in Lakeland.
Those students came from where? For people not familiar with this, because the dynamic, they were going somewhere else.
That's right. They were attending Arlington Middle School for the most part, and then our high school students still attend Arlington High School right now, grades 9 through 12.
And what is a high school in the future for Arlington? For Lakeland.
Yeah, they've got.
Yeah,
yes, no, that's okay. Well,
I've got newspaper names I'm getting wrong. I've got all kinds of names.
You're doing great. Our Board of Education and our Board of Commissioners approved the funding for a high school. It's essentially tied up in court right now, so no one would be able to move forward at this point.
It can't be a school system without at least one lawsuit.
Well, that's right. Well, then we're officially a school system. We've got one. Yeah.
Well, in terms of, I'll look at you, growth projections and planning, again, you spent a lot of years building a system almost from scratch, an extracted system. Right. Now you look at future growth. How do you plan for that? I mean, how far out are you looking, and what are those projections in terms of need 5, 10 years and beyond?
Yeah, it's a great question. Arlington is growing greatly. Last year there were 110 new home permits. As of last week, there were already 87 for this year alone. We're looking at least 5 years out. We think that this growth can't keep up this pace over a long period of time, so we're looking at 5 years out. We've had to we rezone between our 2 elementary schools because all the growth is occurring in one of those attendance zones. So we rezoned. Last year was the year we moved 250 kids from Arlington Elementary to Donaldson, and that has opened space up there. They're both sitting at a nice number right now with 800 kids. As Ted said, his middle school kids were coming to Arlington Middle. At that time, we were over 1,300 there. We're around 950, 960 right now.
And was that is that a better fit? I mean, or was that a big feeling of loss, in terms of teams and clubs and activities?
No,
and so on?
I think at the middle school, I think it was better for both of us. We had kids in portables. We were actually making plans to build an addition to Arlington Middle while we had the Lakeland kids. And when Lakeland decided to build their middle school, we changed directions, and we're now in the middle of construction of a new gym for the middle school where those portables were.
Yeah. Portables are one of those things that superintendents hate, school administration, parents hate, teachers, kids.
Right.
I mean, at Millington, I mean, you look to the future. What kind of growth do you see, and how do you plan for that?
Well, we always look at our 5-year plan, our 10-year plan. I know with other superintendents, any decision we make has to have at least a 5 to 10-year plan. We never spend a dime without thinking, how is this going to affect 2 generations down? Just because we have to. But going back to Ms. Mason and Dr. Horrell, but it's all about the kids. We have to take care of our kids, and it doesn't matter if like I said, when you opened the middle school at Lakeland and Arlington, it wasn't about what was best for the system. It was best about our kids, and we were all raised in a pretty good school system that we were always taught to put the kids first. If you take care of your kids first, everything else will take care of itself, and I truly believe that.
Bill.
And under legacy Shelby County Schools, of course, you had basically one school system for the entire county outside of the city. Now with these different school systems, there's so much discussion about a community high school, one high school for these communities. But also, do you feel pressure or is there direction from the federal level to go to this idea of a comprehensive high school? Is that something that we're seeing more of?
Yeah, I think you're certainly seeing that, certainly locally. I think in our situation, Arlington situation, when Arlington High School was built, it was built for more than Arlington's community. We can house 2,300 students there. So it was actually built for Arlington, Lakeland, and then some of the unincorporated areas that now attend Shelby County. I think it's a different situation than what you're seeing in Carterville, where you have 30,000 people versus 13,000 that we have in Arlington. Currently our school system, we've got about a little over 2,000 kids, 2,050 kids. That includes Arlington, Lakeland, and then we have over 400 non-resident kids that we allow to come into our system. If we look at just Arlington and Lakeland kids, we're around 1,650, 1,700, which is a good number to allow to offer the PAVE Academy, the Leadership Academy, and all those other things that we were talking about. But I do think that there is a move to go to the larger comprehensive high schools.
It sounds like a technical term. What does that mean? And when you say comprehensive,
it means that you can offer all of the offerings, whether it's the fine arts, whether it's the career and technical. We're hoping that the programs that we have, our programs of study for our career and technical, and the partnerships that we're forming with our businesses, we're hopefully setting our kids up that don't want to go to a 4-year school or even a 2-year school, that if they graduate on Sunday, they can go into a job on Monday. So that's one group of kids that we need to make sure that we meet their needs. We also have kids that are going to go to a 4-year university and then beyond that, and we need to make sure that we have those AP classes, dual enrollment, dual credit courses. We've got partnerships with 4 local universities that's meeting those needs. And so you have to have the number of students and teachers to be able to accommodate all those varying needs of students that you have.
Mm-hmm. So Millington Central High School,
Yes, sir.
What does it need to become that kind of comprehensive high school?
Well, obviously, we need more students for more funding, but
more students for more funding.
Yes,
you
sir.
laugh, but it's a serious thing.
It's a very serious thing.
The dollars from the state follow the child.
And myself and Dr. Horrell was talking about this earlier. It seems like we have to educate the general public because they think that the checkbook that's in your back pocket is the same way we can run our checkbook for the school system, and that's not how it works. There's policies, there's procedures, there's rules and regulations. But the biggest thing is, with more students comes more funding, but also comes more issues. But I see more advantages to give our kids what they need. I think it's important that, you be good stewards of the money that is given to us by local, state, and federal money, but to use it to our best advantage for what is best for our students. And that's the great thing about having a local school, is that we can take care of the needs of our schools. Just was out at Collierville High on Monday night and just seeing the Taj Mahal, so to speak. Gorgeous place. And Mr. Mike Simpson, who raised me in transportation, he said, "Bo, what would you have done?" I said, "I'd done the same thing, Mr. Simpson. If they give you the money, you spend it on the kids." And that's what we have to do. We have to find the interest, because if the kids are interested in something, they'll be engaged. If we get their engagement, then we got a chance to make them successful in life, and that's our whole plan of that.
I will say, if I may,
please.
kind of the flip side of that, and part of what we were excited about in terms of opening Lakeland Middle Preparatory School, because our kids were at an awesome school in Arlington Middle School. They came to a school essentially for the 6 through 8, which is less than half the size. And one of the things we've enjoyed about this process, and we get a lot of feedback from parents, is because they do have those smaller cohort sizes, we feel like we're able to more closely, readily kind of address the social, emotional needs of the students, make sure that they're where they need to be in terms of responsiveness and personalizing what they do and kind of making those decisions. So there were certainly a lot of advantages, obviously, of the large, as you say, comprehensive high school, but certainly we feel like one of the things we're able to do in these smaller school systems is kind of, in a way, scale things back and make sure that we're directly addressing the needs of those students.
Yeah, and 8 minutes left here. You mentioned the social emotional needs, and so from the kind of big vision kind of things we've been talking about and the sites down to the students, there is sometimes a perception, it was kind of built up by some people or felt by some people, particularly during consolidation and deconsolidation, that suburban schools are all the kids who are rich, they're all white, they're all, and then in the city it's all opposite that.
Yeah.
You deal with, I'm sure all of you deal with kids of all backgrounds. It is not all kids from perfect backgrounds, and it is not all, it can be white kids, Hispanic kids, black kids, all kinds of backgrounds where they've got needs.
We do.
When I can remember being in elementary school, middle school, I don't think anyone particularly, maybe an individual teacher cared about their students, but there was no sort of philosophy about that.
Yeah.
And it plays out in bullying, it plays out in mental health issues. Talk about, the shift in that and how you have to meet the social emotional needs of kids of all stripes.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. One of the things we invested in, which again for a small system was a major investment, we hired a full-time social worker that started last year that's involved with basically meeting those needs of the students, their family needs, their personal needs, sometimes their emotional needs. They work with the guidance department, obviously, but the guidance counselors are so busy doing other things. This individual is focused on student, basically mental health and wellness. And they did, this number kind of sounds alarming, this individual did more than 100 what we call threat assessments last school year. Now that doesn't mean we think or know something bad's going to happen, but this is when somebody says, somebody needs to check in with this student and just see where they are, how they're feeling, what they're doing, how can we help, let's make sure the parents know about these things. So these are the things that I think obviously are becoming increasingly important in terms
and 100 out of a total number of students of?
We've got about 1,700 students.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge number.
Yeah.
I mean, Tammy, it's address those kind of issues and the way school systems address it now.
Yeah, certainly. We've really put this to the forefront this year. Last year at one of my principals' meetings when we were talking, what I heard from them is our teachers are coming out of the universities well prepared to teach academics, but the non-academics are not as prepared for. And that's the social emotional needs of these kids because they come from varying backgrounds with various needs, various medical issues. And so this year our mission is to do more training with these teachers, real world experiences. Our in-service, the first 8 days before the kids came, we saturated our teachers with how to handle those situations. We also have a social worker that's going into her 3rd year. What we know is one's not enough for 4 schools. I have 4,700 kids, and that's not enough. So we're looking at how can we add some social workers to help that. She works very closely with our guidance counselors, obviously, and also our community partners. Just this morning before I came, I had an email from one of our parents who had worked with one of our local businesses and was dropping off at our central office for our social worker to pick up some items to give to families that can't afford those things, toothpaste, shampoo, stuff like that. So that's there. But the big piece that we found is that we've got to make sure our teachers are equipped to handle that because they're our first responders, if you will, for these to be able to know where they need to go past them. And so we're really focused on that this year.
Same question.
Oh, I think it's vitally important. When we were at our conference last week in Gatlinburg, the one thing they asked, if you could have unlimited funding, what would you do? And I told the group that I was in, I wanted more mental wellness programs because our students nowadays are dealing with so much more than we ever had to. Dealt with something this morning, as a matter of fact, where a little young man was late and the teacher was a little upset. And I said, well, did you ask him why? Well, he had stayed up late because his mom had to work a double shift to pay the bills. He hadn't seen his mom all day, so he stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning. She got home for her double shift, and he overslept. I mean, things like that. Little things like Ms. Mason said about just hygiene. We send food home on the weekends with some of our students because we got parents that, they're having a hard time right now. But if you're hungry, if you're cold, if you're wet, you can't learn. If you don't feel safe in the environment, you can't learn. We are doing a lot more than just giving them the 3 R's, so to speak. We are really giving them life lessons.
How long are your schools open? I know a lot of the charter schools and some of the, that have kind of tried to go into really hard-hit neighborhoods and urban schools, they go almost 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they're open on the weekends in part. And I know anecdotally from people younger than me who've taught in them that the kids really, by and large, just love it because they love this sort of safe, secure, friendly environment. They can get 3 meals a day on federal programs, and so it's just this it really becomes an extension of, it's not just school, back to the 3 R's. Do you have schools that are open that long?
We have some Saturday schools right now, and we, of course, at the high school they stay late because of all the after school activities. But that's a tough thing right there, especially for the middle school and the elementary, because you got to keep them safe. If they're on that campus, we're still responsible for them. So, trying to meet their needs, that is difficult. Especially teachers they'll stay because they care about the kids, but we still have to give them a living wage. And asking them to put in 12, 16-hour days, that's asking a lot.
All this gets to the horror of school safety and school shootings, and I'll just turn to Tammy. With a high school, these events have happened more at high schools, Parkland certainly, but they've happened obviously at elementary school. The Sandy Hook shooting.
Right.
How has that changed? How has that changed your security process? Is it your physical plant issues? I mean, how much change has taken place just in the last 5 years on your campuses as a result of school shootings?
Yeah, it's part of every conversation when we sit down and start planning for schools. That's one of the questions that's now on the list that didn't used to be on the list. Obviously, we have school resource officers at our middle and high school, where we've in the process right now of interviewing to add school security officers for our elementary schools. That's new. We've also had assessments done on each one of our buildings over the summer, as all the schools have across the state. With that, we've just completed installing thumb locks on our high school, all of our high school doors,
What's a thumb lock?
so that it can be locked without a key from the outside. If one of the things that we've seen in some of the school shootings is that they go by and they try to open those doors, and if you have a substitute teacher in there or somebody without a key or just kids, those doors can't be secure. And so we've identified things like that. We've added a lot more security cameras, both interior and exterior as well. We're looking at window coverings for the interior that can open and close.
Ted, similar things that you all have to do?
In fact, we, in a similar kind of time frame, we just authorized the hiring of a full-time armed security officer at our elementary school.
I mean, you've been in education for decades, I assume.
Yeah.
I mean, does it just sadden you to have to do that? I'm not thinking it would challenge that you need to.
No, I mean, it does, but you almost don't have time to be sad about it. You have to be proactive. I mean, you just have to think that's part of providing for the students. They can't learn if they don't feel safe. They can't learn if they're not safe. So it is a shame. You know, we always say it's a shame. We have to think about these things. Probably 10 years ago, we wouldn't have said we need an armed security officer at Lakeland Elementary School for our K-4 school. But we've authorized it. And we also just did a renovation on the entrance at the school because it opened in 2001, which was really just before probably you would stop building schools that way. You come in the front door and it's wide open, and you walk across the lobby to get to the office. And now you'll have to be double buzzed in and have a secure entry.
All right. On that note, we will end it here. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for joining us. Join us again next week.